Gabriel Thompson had always taken pride. In his home at 34, he worked long hours as a mechanic, but he made sure to carve out time on weekends to maintain his yard. His modest house, with its neatly trimmed hedges and vibrant flower beds, was a testament to his hard work and attention to detail. Recently, Gabriel had decided to upgrade his lawn care routine by purchasing a brand new riding lawn mower from Home Depot. It was a splurge, but he figured it would save him time and energy in the long run. The morning he unboxed the mower, Gabriel felt like a kid on Christmas. He read the manual cover to cover, filled the tank with gas, and even gave the machine a quick polish. As he sat on the MO for the first time, gripping the steering wheel, he couldn't help but smile. This is going to make life so much easier, he thought to himself. Gabriel's excitement, however, was about to be tested. His next-door neighbor car was a middle-aged woman with a reputation for stirring up drama. She often dressed in clothes that seemed better suited for someone half her age and had a habit of inserting herself into other people's business. Karen was known for her entitled attitude and, unfortunately, her racist remarks. She had clashed with several neighbors over the years, always playing the victim and making false accusations to get her way. As Gabriel started the moo and began cutting his grass, the familiar hum of the engine filled the air. It was a standard noise level for a riding mower. Nothing out of the ordinary, but within minutes, Karen's front door flew open and she stormed out, her face twisted in anger. Karen marched across her yard and onto Gabriel's property, her high heels sinking into the grass. She stepped directly in front of the lawnmower, forcing Gabriel to slam on the brakes to avoid hitting her. What do you think you're doing? She screeched, her voice dripping with disgust. Gabriel turned off the mower, removing his ear protection. I'm mowing my lawn, he replied calmly, though his heart was racing from the sudden confrontation. Karen crossed her arms, glaring at him. Do you have any idea how loud that thing is? You're disturbing the entire neighborhood and my ears. I can't take this noise anymore. It's giving me a headache. Gabriel took a deep breath, trying to keep his composure. Ma'am, I'm just taking care of my yard. It's the middle of the day, and this is a normal time to mow the grass. I'm not breaking any rules. Karen wasn't having it normal. This is anything but normal. You're being completely inconsiderate if you don't stop right now. I'm calling the police. Gabriel blinked, stunned by her aggression. Call the police for mowing my lawn? That's ridiculous. But Karen was already pulling out her phone, her fingers tapping furiously on the screen. Hello, police. I need to report a disturbance. There's a man here who's intentionally causing a nuisance with his lawnmower. He's refusing to stop, and I feel unsafe. Gabriel's jaw dropped as he listened to her blatant lies. He couldn't believe she was escalating the situation like this. You're really calling the cops over this? He asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Karen SMI worked, clearly enjoying the power she thought she held. You'll see what happens when you mess with me, she said, her tone smug. Gabriel shook his head, realizing there was no reasoning with her. He decided to wait for the police to arrive, knowing he hadn't done anything wrong. As he stood there, the weight of the situation settled on his shoulders. This wasn't just about mowing the lawn. It was about standing up to someone who thought they could bully him because of the color of his skin. The police arrived within minutes, their cruiser pulling up to the curb with its lights flashing. Two officers stepped out, their expressions neutral as they approached Gabriel and Karen. Karen immediately launched into her rehearsed performance, her voice trembling with fake distress. Thank goodness you're here, she exclaimed, clutching her chest dramatically. This man has been terrorizing me with that loud machine. He's disturbing the peace and endangering my health. I demand you arrest him. The officers turned to Gabriel, who stood calmly beside his lawn mower. Sir, can you tell us what's going on here? One of them asked, his tone professional but open-minded. Gabriel nodded, keeping his voice steady. Of course, officers, I was just mowing my lawn like I do every weekend. I bought this mower recently, and it's my first Time using it I wasn't aware I was doing. Anything wrong, he gestured to the mower, which was still parked neatly on his lawn. It's the middle of the day, and I'm just taking care of my property. I didn't think it would cause any issues. The officers glanced at Karen, who was still fuming. Ma'am, is there anything else you'd like to add? One of them asked. Karen huffed, her face red with anger. He's lying. He's been doing this for hours, and he's refusing to stop. I can't take it anymore. The officers exchanged a look, clearly unimpressed by her exaggerated claims. One of them walked over to the moo, inspecting it briefly. This is a standard riding mower, he said. It's not unusually loud, and it's perfectly legal to use during daylight hours. Karen's eyes widened in disbelief. But he's disturbing me. Doesn't that count for something? The second officer shook his head. Ma'am, mowing the lawn during the day isn't a crime. If the noise bothers you, you might want to consider closing your windows or using earplugs. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, but she couldn't come up with a response. The officers turned back to Gabriel. You're free to finish up, but try to keep it quick, okay? Gabriel nodded, relieved. Thank you, officers. I'll be done soon. As the police drove away, Karen's frustration boiled over. She turned to Gabriel, her face twisted with rage. You think you're so clever, don't you? She spat. You're nothing but a monkey, and you're beneath me. If you ever mow this lawn again, I'll make sure you regret it. Gabriel stared at her, stunned by her blatant racism. He didn't respond, knowing there was no point in engaging with her further. Instead, he climbed back onto his mower and started up, determined to finish the job later that evening. Gabriel sat in his living room, still shaking by the encounter. Karen's words echoed in his mind, and he couldn't shake the feeling of injustice. He knew he hadn't done anything wrong, but her threats and racism had left him feeling vulnerable. Determined to protect himself, Gabriel decided to look into Karen's background. He spent hours researching online, digging through public records and news articles. What he found shocked him. Karen had a criminal record, one that included charges of inappropriate behavior with high schoolers. She had been labeled a certified predator and had served time for her crimes. Gabriel's eyes widened as he read through the details, realizing just how dangerous Karen truly was. He printed out copies of her criminal record, including the charges and convictions, and tucked them into a folder. If Karen tried to escalate things again, he would be ready. Gabriel also took steps to prepare himself mentally and emotionally. He knew Karen would likely come after him the next time he mowed his lawn, and he was determined to stand his ground. He practiced staying calm under pressure, reminding himself that he had every right to maintain his property. As he sat at his kitchen table staring at the folder of documents, Gabriel felt a sense of resolve. He wasn't going to let Karen intimidate him anymore. The next time she tried to bully him, he would be ready to fight back, not with anger, but with the truth. The following weekend, Gabriel woke up determined to finish what he had started. He knew Karen would likely confront him again, but this time he was prepared. As he fired up his riding lawn mower and began cutting the grass, he kept a close eye on Karen's house. Sure enough, within minutes, her front door slammed open and she stormed out, her face twisted with rage. Karen marched straight toward Gabriel, her heels sinking into the grass as she stepped onto his property. I told you not to mow this lawn again, she screamed, her voice shrill and piercing. Gabriel turned off the mower and removed his ear protection, staying calm despite her aggression. I'm just taking care of my yard, Karen. I have every right to do that. Karen's eyes narrowed and she pointed a trembling finger at him. You're not just mowing the lawn, you're a drug user, and you're endangering this entire neighborhood. I'm calling the police, and this time they'll arrest you. Before Gabriel could respond, Karen was already dialing 911. Hello, police. I need you to come immediately. There's a dangerous man here who's using drugs and threatening me. He's a menace to the community. Gabriel shook his head, amazed at her audacity. He reached into the storage compartment of his MO and pulled out the folder of documents he had prepared as they waited for the police to arrive. Karen continued to accusations at him, her voice growing louder and more hysterical. When the police cruiser pulled up, Karen rushed over to the officers, her tone frantic. "Thank goodness you're here. This man is a drug user, and he's threatening me. You need to arrest him right now." The officers turned to Gabriel, who remained calm and composed. "Officers, I'd like to show you something," he said, handing them the folder. "This woman has a history of making false accusations. She's a convicted predator with a criminal record for inappropriate behavior with minors. I believe she's trying to harass me because I stood up to her." Karen's face turned pale as the officers opened the folder and began reviewing the documents. "That's not true," she shrieked, lunging toward Gabriel in an attempt to snatch the papers. "He's lying. He's trying to ruin my life." The officers stepped between them, their expressions hardening as they read through Ken's criminal record. "Ma'am, these documents appear to be legitimate." One of them said, "You need to calm down and stop making false accusations." Karen's hysteria reached a boiling point as she realized her lies were unraveling. "You can't believe him. He's a liar, a criminal," she screamed, her voice cracking with desperation. The officers, now fully aware of Karen's true character, issued her a stern warning. "Ma'am, making false accusations is a crime. If you continue this behavior, you could face charges." But Karen was beyond reasoning. In a fit of rage, she lunged at Gabriel, her hands clawing at the air as she tried to attack him. The officers reacted quickly, tackling her to the ground and handcuffing her. "You're under arrest for assault and making false reports," one of the officers said as Karen struggled against the cuffs. "No, you can't do this to me," Karen screamed, tears streaming down her face. "I'm the victim here. He's the one who should be arrested." The neighbors who had gathered to watch the scene erupted into applause as Karen was led to the police cruiser. "Good riddance," one of them shouted. "We've been waiting for this day." Gabriel watched as the cruiser drove away, feeling a profound sense of relief. And just as he climbed back onto his moor and finished cutting the grass, the hum of the engine, now a soothing sound rather than a source of stress. Later that evening, Gabriel joined his neighbors for an impromptu celebration. They laughed and shared stories about Karen's reign of terror, grateful that her toxic behavior had finally been exposed. As the sun set, Gabriel stood in his driveway, looking at his neatly mowed lawn. He felt a quiet sense of pride, knowing he had stood up to injustice with dignity and intelligence. Karen's reign of terror was over, and the neighborhood could finally breathe easy. The story ends with Gabriel sharing a laugh with his neighbors, the sound of their joy echoing through the streets as they celebrated a new chapter for their community.